Oh yeah, here we are. Vibin'. This is a vibin' tunes. It has been a bit since we have done a Plate and Ponder Empty Nesting with Jen and Chris Fenton, which continues to be in 71 countries around the world. We are rocking and rolling, I got to say. I mean, the amount of downloads we're getting is pretty intense, and I do keep looking for that 72, but it's probably because we haven't recorded.
Well, that's
since
because you were out
last
of
Sunday.
town.
I was out of town in Nashville, which is one heck of a fun town to be in, and it makes me proud that I get to work down there in the heartbeat of America, I would say.
You know, I've never been.
It is pretty cool, I got to say.
Well, when are you going to take me?
I will take you happily there. We got to figure out a time to get you there because you are quite busy, as am I.
That's true.
So here we are on a sunny Sunday evening. We are cooking a little food for ourselves. We've been out pretty social since I got back late Friday, and just enjoying a weekend kids coming home and fully empty nesting, which is pretty nice. Ooh, what was that?
I don't know.
Did you just have an alarm go off of some sort?
did.
Oh, that was interesting.
I did. And what's funny is it was Harry Styles.
Ooh, Harry Styles, watermelon juice or
Watermelon sugar.
watermelon sugar, which is, if you look into what that is, it's actually would keep us off of the PG rating that we have.
Actually, that could be a good segue into our first topic.
Well, I think first of all, people like our little banter. So let me ask you this: What did you do while I was gone?
I worked.
Okay. How was work?
Work was fine.
Yeah.
I had a few dinners. I had a board meeting.
Board
Only
meeting for
1 week.
the school district here in Manhattan Beach.
No, board meeting for my work.
Okay.
The
charter school system.
The charter school, exactly. That's the one board meeting I had this week. Last week, I had 3 board meetings.
I could tell you your board meeting would be very difficult if it happened to be a teacher from Torrance today.
Well, we're going to talk about that, but you said we wanted to banter, so
Well,
I have
we are
I have
gonna banter.
I have a few fun questions.
Can I just say, we had a really fun date night. You know,
We had a really great
We
date
try to have
night.
date nights once a week.
And I will say, we've been doing this since the kids were born. No joke. We were very lucky. We had somebody who helped take care of Kaylee and Dylan when they were newborns, and they lived with us. So,
A shout out to Mirta and a shout out to Anna. They were
and
great.
to Florence.
And to
Florence
Florence.
was
They
the baby
all-
nurse that helped,
Yes.
really.
We
And
had a
so,
baby nurse initially because we had
Yes,
twins.
we had
I mean,
twins.
it wasn't like, oh, we're not going to
100%.
do the
No, no,
work
no.
of parents, but it was like,
But
we need them on schedules.
Florence was really adamant about us going out every week. And so when the babies were even 1 week old, you and I went to dinner on a date. And I'm
But a
telling
horn went off in the house, and the kids started to sense we were about to leave. And I just
no.
remember they would grab our legs.
No, when they were babies, when they
They
were
were
like
babies.
infants, newborns. So
And
we've
then
been
they-
doing this. And, Florence even suggested that we travel. So even when the kids were, I think, 4 or 5 months old, you and I went on a vacation. I think we went to London together.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we definitely really tried to balance. Oh, first of all, when you have twins, things turn into this massive blur, like just crazy.
Yeah, I don't remember probably 0 to 4 or 5. I really don't.
I mean, the key thing that happened is we had a very, you think about the soup Nazi, we had a baby nurse like
but
that.
she got the kids
And
on a sleep schedule.
She got them on a sleep schedule.
And they were eating.
They were sleeping 8 hours a night. So like when
Probably at,
she
like, 6
left
weeks.
she left after what? Like she would disappear longer and longer every day.
Yeah, we had her though for about 2.5 months.
I was going to say 6 weeks.
No, it was longer.
Did we really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, it was.
But we had twins.
Yeah, we had twins, and we had them sleeping through the night. I remember burping them on those donuts at the same time.
little
Kaylee would always
baby.
fake that she was drinking her milk, whereas
Yeah.
Dylan would drink his in about 2 seconds and then try to drink hers. It was chaos, but we always did make it a point to get away for at least a few hours to go walk to Osteria Mozza or, BLD or what were some of the other places? Angelini, Osteria. Yeah, we had a lot of good restaurants. La Luna was there on Larchmont.
Yeah.
Mama Osteria, I think, was there. And Patina? Was it Patina or...
it was Providence.
Oh, Providence. That's right.
Yeah.
Patina's sister. Oh, and they had Trois Mec, and they had...
we had some great
Susan
restaurants by
Meisinger
our
had
house.
a restaurant. Yeah, I do miss that. But then the
We've got
South
great
Bay
restaurants
got pretty
here.
good too,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's absolutely comparable.
Yeah, so we got lucky, and anyway, we got away for a date night last night, which was cool.
Well, it's funny. I mean, who are we getting away from, Flynn?
Well, I got away from lacrosse. I was watching a lot of lacrosse yesterday.
Yes, it is lacrosse season in the Fenton house,
and
not Dylan's lacrosse season. It is everybody else's lacrosse season. So you are showing love to the sport in general.
Yes. And I have a movie coming out this summer. We haven't announced the date yet, but we know the date. We know how many screens it's going to be nationwide. It's going to be pretty awesome, and we are in the thick of it, putting the trailers together, the key art, the posters, the website, all that stuff, rounding up the talent, getting them ready to promote. So it has been quite busy. And hopefully once we announce it, I am going to be talking about that movie a lot on here.
I have a feeling.
Yeah, well, it's a good film. I'm pretty excited about it.
Can I ask you some questions?
Yes, I would love you to ask me some questions.
Because you were gone a week,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, we had date night, but I still feel like, you're coming back, and I love this. So if you had to rename me based on my vibe, what would you pick?
Tiger.
Tiger, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Not after Tiger Woods, just
Thank you for that
pure
clarity.
tiger. You're just a tiger.
Okay.
With a nice ass. Oh, sorry. Did I say that wrong?
If you had to buy me one thing to make me happy, what would it be?
Let's see. It would be either, shoes or a purse. I know a particular kind of purse that I would have to probably die trying to get you, but I know that would make you happy. But if I'm thinking about things that are a little more affordable, even though they are considered aren't that affordable, but like shoes, I would get you shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's one thing I'm better at than most people?
Ooh, kicking ass.
Thank you, but really, like, what's one thing?
Just getting stuff done. You
Yeah,
get shit
I'm a
done.
multitasker.
Like your motto, nice ass gets shit done.
It's true.
Was definitely a motto that you lived up to,
And I think I still do.
I think everybody on the boards that you're part of, when you were running the school board here, it was that way. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm telling you, you were pretty unbelievable. And I don't think anybody would disagree. You might have been actually too hardcore for a lot of people.
Well, I am hardcore.
Yeah, you can be.
I know.
Yeah, so
My kids say that. Okay, we're cooking potatoes tonight. We're having burgers. We're having some salads.
we're having burgers with no seasoning on them.
No, they do have seasoning, but I am moderating the salt because I want to make sure you stay healthy.
Yes. Should I be taking my blood pressure while
Actually,
I'm doing
maybe
this?
you should. But okay, if I was a potato, because I'm making potatoes, how would you cook me?
Well, you wouldn't be a sweet potato. You
No,
would be,
definitely not a sweet potato.
More of a like a
Russert potato?
Yeah, I think you'd be a fingerling potato because you're.
Wait,
you
are
have
those like the weird skinny guys?
Well, because I don't think of you as like a big baked potato. You just don't. So how would I?
I'm not
cook
like
you?
a stuffed potato.
We particularly like to go to Paris, so I'd French you. I'd French fry you, I guess. That's did I say that wrong? I don't know.
Oh well, we tried.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess my father-in-law does listen to the podcast. I'm sorry, Les.
Shall we move on?
Yes. What's another question?
No, without that can be. I mean, I have more questions.
Yeah, I want to hear a couple more. I want to hear a couple more.
Okay. Here's one. Okay. What's one thing I do that makes ordinary days better?
What is it that you do to make ordinary days better? Well, I would say, you are very motivated in the morning, as am I, but sometimes one of us is a little more sluggish than the other getting out of bed, but you spring out of bed, and so do I, and you get the coffee going, and I love that. So, that really kicks off the day in a great way. And I would also say that you're always, if we're both home at dinner time, you make a fantastic meal.
Thank you. Okay, what's my most lovable contradiction?
Most lovable contradiction? Wait, give me an example. What is that?
Well, I don't know. It's
what
a
that
question,
is.
but like, you know how I'm like a tiger. I'm like really aggressive, but that's a lovable trait because I'm overly protective. I'm super loyal. So like a lovable contradiction like that.
Yeah, there's, you get upset at me for not hearing you when I'm like in the closet and you're 7 rooms away. And I would say that you got a little irritated at me when I was trying to talk to you when you were 7 rooms away in the closet. Yet I just go with that. You can be.
So I hold you to a high standard.
You
which
hold
is
me to a
good.
very high standard. You know, there are times when you eat things and you're chewing in a way that's like a little
Okay.
annoying, but I don't say anything.
Okay, this is a what is worse, kind of like a would you rather almost. Mm-hmm. When Dylan comes home, Flynn barks incessantly whenever Dylan eats. Dylan could be eating dinner, Dylan could be having a protein shake, Dylan could be having chips. It does not matter. Flynn barks and barks and barks. So is that noise worse? Or this morning, was it worse? You were eating a banana with peanut butter on it. And it just made that like, I could hear it across the kitchen. I think I actually plugged my ears with my fingers because I couldn't listen to it
Well, first
anymore.
of all, the peanut butter that you've gotten me has 0 salt in it and 0 anything that's bad for you. So just consuming it requires every bit of saliva that's in your mouth because otherwise it turns to like a chalky cement.
Oh, but I did it to keep you healthy.
And you did a great job at that. So I really appreciate it. So, so there you go. So maybe we move on from the questions into what else?
Well, maybe we should talk about what happened at the correspondence dinner last night.
Yeah. Well,
in the
what's even weirder is the fact that we were at a restaurant where you could see the bar, right? Like you could see the bar across the room, and whatever
sports was on. I forget.
Yeah, whenever it happened, there was no cut to footage, and we didn't find out about it, and I don't think anybody did in the restaurant until probably a good hour and a half later after the news came out. So I find that sort of odd, and I will tell you that I remember the exact same thing happening when Butler, Pennsylvania occurred.
I called you. I was like, "Oh my God, Chris, did you just hear somebody tried to assassinate Trump?"
Yeah, I was on the way.
You were at
I was
a
with
lacrosse
Grady
tournament.
Lee heading to dinner over by Georgetown Prep in Maryland, and we got to the place, and there were televisions on. We were eating at a high end, it was like a nice artisan pizza place or whatever, and there were TVs over the bar and sports were on, and there was like literally no cut to footage of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. And obviously I was still learning exactly what happened, but it happened a good hour before. It's crazy to think that assassination attempts on a president, and I know last night was a little more ambiguous in terms of a direct assassination attempt, because I guess, you could argue he was in another room and he never got a shot at our president or anybody in particular. Maybe he was there to, get somebody else, or who knows? Well, it's hard to find out. There was a manifest, I guess, where he was talking about the administration on the whole.
Well, in the writings, he reportedly referred to himself as a friendly federal assassin, but didn't specify that he was going after the president. I mean, it could have been J.D. Vance.
That's a weird adjective to put ahead of federal assassin,
right?
Friendly versus unfriendly.
Friendly federal assassin is what he wrote, and he expressed deep grievances against the Trump administration as well as religious groups. But that room was a big room. It was full of people from the left, from the right, from cabinet to the media. So you're right. It's a little more ambiguous because we don't know if it was absolutely directed at Trump. I mean, I think we can assume it was, but yeah, it's definitely a little ambiguous.
I mean, Butler, Pennsylvania was an obvious assassination attempt. You could argue that golf course guy that was hiding there waiting for him was pretty darn close to an assassination attempt that was
Right,
foiled.
like who
but
else
he never
would-
took a shot.
Because
but
they got
exactly.
they got him in time.
Last night, they got him before he got into the room, and I'm curious, like, whether they can they press charges on him as an assassination attempt? I don't know. Like,
Well,
what is that?
here's what I think is going to happen. So first of all, the him that we are referring to is a man by the name of Cole Thomas Allen. And he's 31 years old, and he's from Torrance, California, which is in the South Bay. He worked as a like a tutor, if you will. So in Manhattan Beach, we have something called Study Hut. He worked at something called like C2. It was in like a strip mall.
Yeah, but he wasn't your normal tutor
Well, no,
either.
he was really
a
smart. He went
Caltech.
to Caltech.
I mean, Caltech, for people that don't know, I believe it's between MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Caltech are probably the two hardest schools in the country to get into, mainly because you have to be a genius in STEM to even, get whatever.
No, nobody's
degree
discounting that. But the fact that he had a gun, a handgun, a shotgun, knives, the fact that he took
Oh,
a
he had
train,
multiple weapons?
That's what it's saying.
Oh, my gosh.
And so the fact that he took a train, right, instead of getting on an airplane, so he didn't have to disclose these weapons, the fact that he charged the ballroom, I mean, I think you're right. Was it a direct assassination? No, but it does seem like he'll be charged with something.
The whole thing is a definite sad trombone on like the most amplified level possible, and it should be record scratch for where society is going, where this is becoming something that seems to be if it happens 3 times, is that a regular occurrence? And like, who knows how many have been foiled or, it's just,
well,
this
that's
is
what I asked
insane.
you. Is this
insane.
is this president one that's had the most assassination attempts? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. Do you?
It's the most fiery rhetoric I've ever heard from both sides about anybody on the other side. I would say, I don't understand why people can't just, like, we have Plate and Ponder Empty Nesting with Jen and Chris Fenton, and we cover timely topics, but we don't get all knives and daggers about one side or the other. We're just talking about things that are part of the conversation, part of the zeitgeist that people are talking about at restaurants or among themselves or online or whatever. We somehow are doing it without making people have rancor and complete feelings of violence towards whatever topic we're talking about, right?
No,
like, why can't
definitely
people do that more? Like,
well, because our country is so divided right now. And that, I will say, is actually the one plus that came out of last night's attempted assassination. Is we watched a ton of news stations this morning. We watched Fox, we had CNN, we watched like the local news, we watched it all. And reporters who were seemingly, liberal or seemingly conservative, people were coming together, and everybody was commending and complimenting Secret Service for doing a really great job. Everybody was, complimenting basically the safety and what happened afterwards. So there was a little bit of a pat on the back from everybody, like, go team, high five, even if you don't like the other side.
Well, if I'm Trump, I'm patting them on the back constantly, because it seems like there's definitely entities internally that maybe aren't doing their job because maybe they don't see eye to eye with them. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to put on a tinfoil hat, but like, if you look at the fact that they're allowing normal people to stay in the hotel and have access to everything like that, when 2,500, there's 2,500 guests, but I would argue maybe 100 of the most important people for the American leadership are all in one room.
Okay,
it just
but how do
insane.
you can't shut down the hotel
why
for those 100 people. So who's paying for it?
I'm just
the government.
Somehow, if you're going to do that, you got to do it in a secure manner. I don't know what it costs, but it probably costs less than flying Air Force One to Mar-a-Lago. Imagine somebody brought a bomb into the hotel and had it in their room or whatever. I mean, look at what happened to Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. I mean, having access to a building like that to anybody just seems crazy. Now, I don't know if it was just anybody. I mean, maybe this guy had to have a certain passport, clearance to get a room there. He couldn't have any marks on his record. Maybe they do some sort of search like that.
That would be interesting to actually find out if on events like this, just like the correspondence dinner, if there's an extra level of security and check-in requirement if you're going to stay at the hotel during that week.
I mean, put it this way, I don't think anybody can just stay at the Beverly Hilton during the Golden Globes. I think you have to be a part of it somehow.
I don't think so. I disagree. What if you and I were from like Bumbletown, I don't know, Oklahoma, and we happened to book a vacation?
Well, first of all, the rooms would be so outrageously expensive to the normal person.
I mean, what if we booked it a year in advance?
I think it's probably the same price every year when the Golden Globes happen. That would be my guess, But regardless, I think even in his manifesto, he said how ridiculously unsecure the site was. I think that was part of what he wrote. I was hearing on the news this morning. So I don't know. Regardless, I mean, the fact that we have, I would say, somebody that this wasn't like a traditional incel, wayward soul, radicalized person with no future. I mean, this was a guy who graduated Caltech. Now, maybe he was trying to find his way and was teaching, tutoring, but I was tutoring too with a Cornell engineering degree after college. So he might have been in that place and zone, and who knows, but he doesn't feel like that typical radicalized person, but which makes me unfortunately believe that the normalization of violence towards the other side politically is becoming apparent, which I hope is not the case, but I'm just throwing that out there as an idea.
You know what, though? He does sound radicalized to me. The fact, again, this is according to my research. I wasn't there. I don't know. I haven't interrogated the guy, but he has had a history of anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric, and he's done that on his social media. So perhaps we haven't looked at it, but maybe there's a past. He also made a small donation to the Democratic PAC.
$25.
Yeah. Which is, neither here nor there, but I think that
we have lots of friends who say things on social media that 20 years ago or 10 years ago would be seen as completely radicalized. In fact, think? Yeah, and I would say friends of ours on the left probably say things that you can get away with on the left because there seems to be a leniency a bit, whereas on the right it might be seen as much more threatening, and perhaps you could get arrested for it. I don't know, but I do think the rhetoric from what I would call normal educated people, because they happen to be friends of mine, but maybe that's a sign that they're not normal. I don't know, but I think people.
Did you just put yourself down?
Well, I'm just I don't know. Am I normal? I guess
I think you're normal.
Like I am. But let's I don't want to dwell too much on it because it does sadden me, and I don't know if we know everything yet. And I just then there's also the other part where there's certain contingency on the left that's saying it was all staged, which, coincidentally, he's trying to get through a court that halted his construction for a fully secure ballroom. That's ongoing right now. And it seemed like the very first statement he said after this thing went down was like, "See, you need my ballroom," or whatever. It was like, whoa, okay, way to inflate that potential conspiracy theory. I mean, as far as a conspiracy, I could say the timing is very suspect, but the part that just wouldn't make any sense is, so they somehow talked this guy into doing that, whereas, the chances of him still being alive after pulling this off were probably 1%. So how it's incredible that he wasn't shot and killed.
Well, he was stripped down, and
it was really arrested. A suicide mission, if you ask me.
Maybe. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think Jeffrey Epstein was involved?
Well, okay, so if I really put on a tinfoil hat,
I'm saying this in jest.
Okay. Well, what I am going to do is I'm going to say, because we talked about it maybe last episode or the episode before, the attention span, this whole thing about keeping any sort of news story around long enough to actually know what actually happened and have enough investigative time to actually figure it out and explain to the American people what went on. This is going to be just another example of that, because not only do I think most people forget that the Ukrainian-Russian war is even ongoing and actually worse than it has ever been right now. It is insane what's going on with the drone attacks and missile attacks, how deep into Russian territory the Ukrainians are, how much the Russians are penetrating the Ukrainian borders. Anyways, so that's going on. Then you had the Epstein situation, which it almost seemed like it was completely gone, and then Melania brought it back for a brief heartbeat, but then it essentially disappeared totally again. So that, where is that? I don't know. And then it's almost like the Iranian war is dissipating from people's consciousness,
but it's
too.
not, because airfare is going up, gas is going up, planes are canceling their routes, or they're grounded. And I'm talking about in the U.S. travel. So I don't think people are forgetting about it.
Yeah, well, prices are going to make it remind people, or maybe they'll deflect it onto something else that, oh, the reason is up because of the regulations or whatever it is. I don't know. But you watch, this attention span is really going to get out of control. And I wouldn't be surprised if this thing that happened at the correspondence dinner goes away in a matter of 72 hours also. So anyway, it brings me to a more fun topic, which there was a perfect segue that you gave there, which was the fact that he took a train to Chicago and then took a train to New York. And it reminds me of the 80s.
Midnight train down
Yes, what was that? It was that
Don't Stop Believin'.
Remember that?
I do. It was also made famous by The Sopranos, the last scene. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes,
that was how it
remember
closed out.
Now, by the way, I don't know what the rules are. I should look into it because I am in the business. But you can't. I would play the song for a long time.
I think that could be considered sampling.
I think that was just a sample. And so one of the things that we were thinking of is there is a huge movement, and I've seen it among Gen Z and the younger generations also, to sort of crave going back to the 80s and 90s, that pre-digital space, that pre-social media space, when things were a lot more sort of Americana in a good way. And I'm not going back to the 50s and 60s pre-civil rights era. I'm talking about post-civil rights, when love was out there, when people rallied around the AIDS crisis and the epidemic that was hitting the gay community. The fact that it did seem, and obviously I am not a minority, but it seemed like minorities were really gaining their stride and being taken care of in a very equal way. Feminism and women also, it felt like that was really coming alive in a great way. So anyway, the 80s and 90s were a really interesting time. And in fact, it felt like people were happier. So we thought that maybe every episode or every few episodes, we sort of take a verse out of a song that was, iconic to those 80s or 90s, and sort of analyze just a verse, and ask, well, what did that mean back then? And why is it so interesting now? So do you want to read the verse that we were talking about? Or you want me to read it and then you can analyze?
Why don't you read it and then I'll analyze?
Okay, so we just took one verse, which is from Don't Stop Believin', and it's just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train going anywhere. What do you think about that?
Of course, I did some research.
Okay, but also, how does it move you?
By the way, really funny. So I went to dinner with my friend Jen on Thursday night. Or sorry, was it Wednesday night? Yeah, maybe it was Wednesday night. And we were talking about the podcast, and I'm going to get back to the lyrics. She's like, I can totally picture you and Chris doing the podcast with your computer at your lap, and anytime a topic comes up, you feverishly typing into your computer to try and find facts. I'm like, that's totally true. So that's why.
Okay, well, that was something that,
let
me tell you, that was something you couldn't do in the 80s and
that
90s.
Is true.
So what would you have been doing? You would have been
Twiddling
like getting
thumbs.
out. No, you would have been on microfiche.
Oh, Lordy, pulling out the Encyclopedia Britannica, something like that.
Is that what that was? Or what
Remember
was
you had the whole...
bibliographies?
No, no.
Okay,
yeah,
anyway.
So what's interesting is, I don't know if you know, but the song, the title actually came from a little bit of, the keyboardist, Jonathan Cain. He thought his music career was over, right? And so he called his dad and he's like, should I give up? Should I come home to Chicago? And his father said, "Don't stop believin' or you're done." So that was a phrase that he wrote in a notebook, and he kind of sat with it for years until Journey began working on this actual album. So there was things like that. And then,
well, you know what, just really quick on the Don't Stop Believing, right? I mean, there is a movement for the youth are moving more towards faith again. Like there's definitely
we've talked about this
in church going and sort of the faith side of whether it's Christianity or Judaism or whatever it is. So Don't Stop Believing has to do with faith and overcoming fear, right? So that's interesting.
Well, and also that fate can be arbitrary to some extent, because some will win and some will lose, but you're still believing, like you have control.
Yeah.
Right? Life keeps lifing.
It's almost like we talked about in Project Hail Mary, where he suddenly had this spark of, oh, I can actually survive this.
Right.
And that was that hope, that faith that, there's a lot of odds he has to overcome, but if he does it, he can get out of this.
And the midnight train to anywhere, that symbolizes the ultimate act of faith, right? Because you're basically living your current life and you're getting on some train and you're going someplace else. You don't know where, you're going someplace else.
Yeah. And I think about that Don't Stop Believing and the midnight train going anywhere. And I wasn't even thinking of this song. It was like, I was more into Pearl Jam or whatever it was when I graduated college. But I literally hopped in a car and spent 8.5 months traveling the country. I had no idea where I was going to go.
Do kids even do that anymore?
I don't know, but it was the greatest. It was just the greatest adventure. And like I didn't have any money. I had to work odd jobs. Like it was really amazing. Crashing on couches in different fraternities and university towns across the country, and just trying to find a place where I wanted to settle down and put roots in. That was. So it was
That's so adventurous.
It was a midnight train going anywhere. But,
I don't think I could ever do that.
Well, there were a lot of kids who, did they went the first time to Europe and they backpacked Europe for like 3 months, and they stayed at youth hostels and all that stuff. Even
still, and I did Europe. I did a semester there and I was in Rome. But it was very planned. I am not good with, take the midnight train to anywhere. That is not me. Hop in my car and just drive, not me. Like, I need a plan.
I do think the 80s and 90s, especially this idea of, and I wasn't planning on going to California. I was actually planning to settle down in Boulder, Colorado, because I loved the Samples and Big Head Todd and the Monsters and a bunch of those bands that were out of Boulder. And then when I got there, I realized there were just a lot of overeducated people that were underemployed. So eventually I made it out to California. But I think there was a big, like in the 70s and 80s and even 90s, this migration to California, because California was seen as this like, heaven on earth, or this land of opportunity and venture that was so different than the cities and the suburbs that we grew up in the East Coast.
Well, Led Zeppelin did the song Going to California, but that was in like 1975. So maybe it was a little before your time.
Yeah. And I mean, but even the 90s, when you think of one of the top pop songs was on the, was it the OC, the California Here We Come by Phantom Planet,
Yes.
I think that was their only hit song, really.
I went to school with the Phantom Planet guys.
I know. It was Sam Ferrer and Alex Greenwald.
No, he did go to our school. No, Jacques.
I thought Sam did.
No. Yeah, Sam did.
And then Roman
Jacques,
Polanski's grandson.
But
right?
he didn't go to Buckley.
Oh, he didn't?
I think he
Sofia
went to...
Coppola's brother, right?
Brother, yeah. I think he went to maybe Crossroads.
Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah. But anyways, that was California.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, it was... I remember coming out here thinking so many different things about what I thought LA was. I thought everywhere you were, you could see the Hollywood signs up on like a Mount Fuji in the distance. I thought it was going to be smoggy. You couldn't even breathe. I thought every freeway was going to be packed all the time, which they are a lot of the time, but not all the time. I thought, the boardwalk in Venice was next door to the Viper Room and the Sunset Strip. Like they were all right next to each other. That wasn't the case. And I thought everywhere you looked, there were sound stages and studios, which you got to really look to find them. So anyway, it was the 80s and 90s did feel like there was an innocence and this sense of adventure, this sense that you didn't always have to have a plan. You think about college, college, summer jobs in college, you didn't necessarily have to have that internship that teed up the rest of your life. Like,
well, right. We've talked about that too.
So anyway, a midnight train going anywhere. And I sort of love that idea. I feel like we're empty nesting now, and maybe
that makes me uncomfortable.
World is our oyster.
And that's fine, but just going any place without a plan, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but even when we're in Copenhagen or we go anywhere, we're like, okay, lunch, we're just going to wing it and see where we end up.
Because that is a limited time that I can go unstructured.
But it does get a little stressful for you if it goes on a little long.
Sometimes that's the point.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's one of my lovable traits, going back to the what was it? Contradicting.
The lovable contradictions.
Yeah, maybe that's a lovable contradiction of mine.
That's interesting. Well, anyway, I hope people DM me and say, hey, we like this idea of going back to the 80s and 90s, those verses, because there's something about them that is telling in terms of what we were craving back then that is very relevant now.
I love that. I think people should DM you songs, and then we can dissect and analyze.
And I always loved the girl in the Rio video too, which isn't really all that symbolic, but her name was Rio and she danced upon the sand.
Maybe that can be the next one.
Just like a river.
I think I'm going to go finish dinner now.
So we are Plate and Ponder Empty Nesting with Jen and Chris Fenton. We want to thank you all for tuning in. We are looking for number 72 as far as a market out there. So if anybody is in one of those countries, please download, listen, follow, engage, enjoy, review, and DM us if you have ideas. Like, this is an idea that sort of came out of the ether from feedback we were getting, and we'd love to get some more. We are Plate and Ponder. We really enjoy doing this show, and I'm looking for a music song to get us out. And here we go. Some funky G-Love.
Bye.
Thank you all. Till next time. See ya.